Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is promoting a right-wing smear piece on Ilhan Omar. Now, this is in relation to what is called, quote-unquote, ballot harvesting, or otherwise called ballot collection. And I'm going to get into that and as well show you just why this story is completely ridiculous. But let me start here. Tulsi Gabbard tweeting out on September 18th, saying banning ballot harvesting is not a partisan issue. It's been used and abused in states like North Carolina and California and is ripe for fraud. That's why I introed H.R. 8285, the Election Fraud Prevention Act, with Rodney Davis to protect the integrity of our elections and our democracy. Now, more on North Carolina and California in a minute here. But first, okay, ballot harvesting is a term that has largely been co-opted by the right to smear the Democratic Party about how they're winning elections. So they've used it, the GOP have used it to smear Democrats in California specifically over, or claiming that Democrats only won certain districts because of ballot harvesting. All ballot harvesting is, or ballot collection, is collecting ballots from individuals. So there are different laws in different states on this. Some states allow collecting from people that are in your family. So, you know, you're an elderly lady who can't make it to the ballot box. Your daughter picks up your ballot, sends it in. That's perfectly legal in many states. Other states also allow third parties to come and collect your ballot and submit it. California is one of those states. But this, I'm going to show you why this is not really a big deal. Now, we can have a debate or a discussion around the how far ballot collection should go and potential questions around, hey, can you trust that person who's collecting your ballot to actually send it in? And we get into North Carolina on that. But even in this story, you're going to see the way that the right has used it, or the way that Tulsi Gabbard's using it here, it's disingenuous. But basically, ballot collection is mainly for people who are either in remote areas or the elderly or the disabled. So it helps them be able to vote without having to leave their home and have someone collect their ballot. Now, we get crazy. So Breitbart News here puts this story out. Project Veritas has released the results of an investigation into alleged ballot harvesting by supporters of Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, a key swing state in the 2020 presidential election. So clearly here they are trying to use this story, and I'll get deeper into this in a second, but they're trying to use this as a way to smear the win of Ilhan Omar. And again, propping up questions around the ballots, like Trump has been doing this entire election. So when he loses, he can claim, oh, well, clearly, as I've been saying the entire time, there's a lot of questions around the ballots, around the mail-in ballots, around ballot harvesting. That's how Democrats stole the election. We know that's what they're going to do. And all you have here with Tulsi Gabbard, a Democratic congresswoman, propping this up, is a way for Republicans and Trump to try and justify their claims around the ballots. Now, let me get a bit more into Project Veritas here. So the leader of Project Veritas, James O'Keefe, in the past, this is in 2010, he had pled guilty. During one of his investigations, he broke the law and had to plead guilty. And there's a number of... Basically, this is a guy who tries to make the news. So another story here, this is from 2017. James O'Keefe on the defensive after failed anti-post plot. Here he had tried to push a false story on the Washington Post, assuming that they would bite and that they would, report on this false story. Then James O'Keefe could turn around and say, hey, look, the Washington Post posts fake news. We invented this story. While it turns out the Washington Post looked into his attempt here to push this false story, and it completely backfired on him. So just to give you an idea of the kind of BS that James O'Keefe and Project Veritas attempt to put out there. Now, this is where we have Tulsi Gabbard come in. So despite the fact that Project Veritas is a far right-wing group, has been exposed again and again, here she tweets out, Project Veritas offers further evidence of the need to ban ballot harvesting. It's not a partisan issue. It's been abused to help both R and D candidates, including in North Carolina and California. Again, not true. I will get to this in a second. Please help by telling your congressional rep to pass our bipartisan bill. Now, of course, Donald Trump also pushed this. The Breitbart piece here saying this is totally illegal. Hope that the U.S. attorney in Minnesota has this and other of her many misdeeds under serious review. If not, why not? We will win Minnesota because of her and law enforcement. Saved Minneapolis and Iron O Range. All right. So again, you see how this is being used by Trump to push a false story about how you can't trust mail-in balloting, can't trust the ballots, can't trust ballot collection. Now, here's some actual reporting on the Project Veritas piece. So they say here the video, this is from the CBS local station in Minnesota. The video from the group Project Veritas shows a man driving around Minneapolis in July with what he claims are hundreds of absentee ballots for then Minneapolis City Council candidate Jamal Osman. The video was released Sunday night, and Trump repeatedly tweeted about it. The video then presents community activist Omar Jamal claiming, without offering proof, that Omar is paying for harvesting of ballots. Quote, she uses her money and he is one of her many people. He is not the only one who works for her, Omar said, Omar referring to Omar Jamal. In a statement, Ilhan Omar denies the man in the video works for her and says there is zero truth to the Project Veritas claims. Now, something amazing about this, there is no evidence at all that anything here was done illegally. Again, ballot collection is something that is legal, is simply collecting the ballot largely of people in remote areas, of the elderly, of the disabled, to ensure that they're able to vote without having to leave their home. That's all it is. But here, they're trying to make a big story out of it by focusing on Ilhan Omar's district. Now, the video says the man harvesting ballots in the video was violating Minnesota election law that allows a person to only turn in 3 absentee ballots. However, for the August primary, a court order lifted the 3-person limit, allowing anyone with the proper identification to bring in an unlimited amount of ballots. The 3-ballot limit has been reinstated for the general election. So the video claims something illegal is going on when nothing illegal is going on. They simply did not verify the actual law before making claims like this. And you have Tulsi Gabbard propping this up as something that should be taken seriously, as further evidence of the need to ban ballot harvesting when nothing illegal went on. Now, I got more. Of course I got more. Actually, let me mention this as well. Minnesota's U.S. Attorney Erica McDonald, who was appointed by Trump, is not commenting. When you have Minnesota's U.S. Attorney not commenting, somebody who appointed by Trump not commenting on this story, there's nothing to it. If there was something to it, she'd be commenting on it. More here. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office has responded to allegations of potential ballot harvesting in the county, stating it has not received information, nor does it have any cases, quote, involving so-called ballot harvesting in any elections held in Hennepin County this year. Nothing to this story whatsoever. Yet you have a Democratic representative propping it up. Now, let's get to California and North Carolina. As you saw here at the beginning, Tulsi Gabbard claiming it's been used and abused in states like North Carolina and California. Well, let's see if that's the case. There's a lot of reporting on this. I'm just using PolitiFact as one example, but you can do your own research. But PolitiFact says here, in 2016, California expanded the practice with a new law that allowed anyone, including paid workers, to collect and return ballots. Previously, only relatives or people living together could submit ballots for one another. Some news reports credited the Democrats' use of the law with helping them win some 2018 congressional races, while some strategists called that an excuse for Republican losses. So, regardless of how you want to look at this, nothing illegal was done. They had ballot collection. They expanded it to people who are not just relatives, and it was part of the way that ballots were collected. So we can have a debate over, can you trust third parties to collect the ballot and send them in? We can have that debate, but nothing illegal here was done. Now, there's no evidence that, Democrats somehow use this in particular to try and steal an election. Again, all legal. They won these races, and the GOP want to complain because they can't they have no other course of action here except to claim that the only reason they lose an election is because of some kind of fraud. Now, North Carolina is a very interesting case because something illegal here was done. Yet, this HR 8285, the Election Fraud Prevention Act, would have done nothing to stop what happened in North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. But this was a CNBC piece from 2019. Top North Carolina election official alleges illegal ballot harvesting effort in key House race. Of course, this was Republicans trying to steal an election. A Republican operative who last year rounded up votes for a GOP candidate running for Congress conducted an illegal and well-funded ballot harvesting operation, North Carolina's elections director said Monday. The director's testimony came on the first day of a hearing into whether mail-in ballots were tampered with in a race for the state's 9th congressional district seat that saw Republican Mark Harris narrowly defeat Democrat Dan McCready. So they eventually had another election for that seat, and it was a different Republican that ended up winning against Dan McCready. But yeah, so here you had the GOP actually try and steal the election using ballot collection or ballot harvesting. Except this was done illegally because already it's illegal in North Carolina to collect ballots as a third party. Tulsi Gabbard's bill, all it does is stop third-party balloting. It cuts funding to states that have that allow third parties to collect ballots. So if this was law, it would have done absolutely nothing in this case because they already broke the law that is on the books, the law that Tulsi Gabbard wants to apply to other states, but is using North Carolina as one of the reasons why they should have HR 8285, even though it would have done nothing in this case. Ultimately meaning that what she is pushing here, all it would do is all it does is an attempt to hurt Democrats, is an attempt here to disregard the results of an election because you can't trust the ballots, whether it's mail-in balloting, ballot harvesting. That's the claim that ultimately is being made here. That the GOP can now come out and say, look, we even have people across the aisle, we even have Democrats that agree with us that, you can't trust these ballots. All Tulsi Gabbard is doing is giving Trump an argument. I don't know why she's doing it. I've speculated in the past that she's leaving Congress. She's gone after this year, so maybe she's trying for a future position at Fox News. I don't know. I have no idea. But I would not be surprised at all to see her on Tucker Carlson's show discussing this very thing.